This week on Crappie Masters, the 2018 season is here, and as usual, the first stop on the trail is the famous St. John's River system and area lakes near DeLand, Florida. This fishery is red hot, and it's a favorite among the tournament pros. The big black crappie are starting to spawn, and hauling in 2-pounders is not uncommon.
Oh! 297.
Today, we get valuable insight from some of the pro anglers on how to fish this amazing system of lakes and rivers. Pro icon Tommy Scarless talks navionics and demonstrates how effective this mapping system is and why it's a must when fishing for crappie. Plus, there's a hurricane spotted in Florida, and Leanne makes him the net man.
Leanne has got a fish. I'm just here to net her fish.
All of this and much, much more today on Crappie Masters.
How you doing, Dave?
And it come out of the water and it go boom! Said a couple of words I can't say on the Crappie Master stage because it's a family show.
In the freshwaters of North America lives one of the most sought-after sport fish in the United States, the crappie. With some of the greatest crappie fishing in the world, the greatest anglers from all corners come together, all striving for tournament victories, state championships, and of course, the ultimate prize, the coveted National Championship. These are the Crappie Masters, and this is Crappie Masters TV. Crappie Masters Television is brought to you by the Renewable Fuels Association, American Ethanol, Bass Pro Shops, the Missouri Corn Growers Association, Humminbird, Minn Kota, and the West Volusia Tourism Advertising Authority.
It's a nice little hog. She always catches the good one. I'm just here to net her fish.
Yo, dude, pay attention to your navionics. I'm right here.
Very good stuff. It's 2018 and we are here on the St. John's River getting the 2018 Crappie Master season started. Today, we're going to get in a boat with several different teams and offer up several different techniques that these guys are using to get prepared for a tournament, but also just to come out here and catch fish. We're in DeLand, Florida. I got a full belly from all the great restaurants in town. So let's get right in here. We've got Hurricane Howard, Leanne Howard right in front of us, and they are out on the main river spider rigging. We're gonna catch up with them and see what they're doing to catch fish. They've been out here most of the week, trying new places, and hopefully they'll catch us a fish or two. Let's move in here.
And we're out here fishing on St. John's River. Got our new rods out, HH rods and reels. And we're pushing our 16-footers right now with an 8-pound P-line. I'm kind of hiked up on the line from 6 to 8 just for the St. John's River on these black crappies. So, our pushing rods will be 16 and 14-foot lengths.
All right, so right here is their setup. You'll see that is a 1/2 ounce lead weight. You just run your line through there about 3 times. It holds it in place. And about 15 inches below, this is what everybody uses in Florida. This is one of the Skipper's moon jigs. This is the buttercup color. And down here they're using small baits, real little minnows, versus a lot of parts of the country are used to using bigger minnows. So that's the setup. They're out there pushing that down current, trying to catch a crappie. Get them!
We're out here on St. John's Rivers using Skipper's jigs, moon jigs. These jigs that we prefer it on these rivers and also the lakes. Multiple colors normally hit out here. What works real well when the water starts heating up on the St. John's River is this buttercup color right here. Everybody works real well. Skipper's jigs, moon jigs. And then another one that works real well out here also is the Tango. They call it Tango colors. chartreuse, and a buttercup mix. Works really well. This works year round right here. And then a color that Scott and Tina has brought out from Skipper's Jigs back on the market again. That's just brought it back about a month ago. Is this John Deere green color moon jig that Skipper's Jigs has got out. Works really, really good. Wouldn't think it would work that well in this dark water, but for some reason they hit it. We're in probably about 9 or 10 foot of water. This offset's about 3. And Leanne has got a fish. All right. Here we go. She was fishing probably about 5 or 6 feet down. Oops, sorry.
You're all right.
And it's a nice little hog. Little mark. Little mark. There we go. Like I said, these fish we've been catching is she always catches the good one. As you can tell, we were using a moon jig, a little bit different color. We're trying some different colors because of the cold front. 185. Got a 185 we just caught here on St. John's River. Working the ledges, the medium ledges between 9 and 12 feet of water. She hit pretty good. Leanne was fishing down approximately about 6 feet. So these fish have actually moved down in the water column since this cold front's come through. And this is the result. Use Skipper's Jigs, moon jigs. And she's a nice little healthy. One thing about these St. John's River black crappie, they're not real long, but they're healthy and just stout. So if you get you about a 16-inch black crappie right now, it'll be well over 3 pounds. I mean, they've been feeding real heavy the last 5 to 6 weeks here, so that's the result.
For this river and this tournament, would it take 7 of those to be in the top? Or
absolutely. They'll take every bit of 7 of these. 7 of these are a little bit bigger. You're going to have a kicker fish each day to be in that top 3 or top 5 teams on this tournament this week, period. Cold fronts come through, these fish are suspended. The last couple of days that you were up in the water column, you know, we were fishing about 4 or 5 feet down in the water column. Now we're spotting and marking these fish a little bit deeper today because the cold front came through yesterday. Barometric pressure changed, but you can see they're a little suspended. So we're in about 11 foot of water. You can see they're down about 9 foot. So they've moved down that water column on us, so that's why we're fishing about 2 or 3 foot off the bottom to get those big females that are sucking that bottom right now because of the cold front here on the St. John's River.
So that's Hurricane Howard, Leanne Howard, out here pre-fishing for the tournament coming up. And they are always a ball of fire, catching a few fish, trying some new areas. We're gonna go catch up with some more teams, see if we can't find out some new ways to catch crappie here on the St. John's River. All right, Renewable Fuels Association team over there, they're out here spider rigging on the main river, and they're out in a little bit deeper water, and they're pushing double baits. So they got a 3/4 ounce weight on, and they're going anywhere from 0.9 to 1.2 mile an hour, and they got a double Skipper's Moon Jig rigs on. You can see this is the Tango color. It's a buttercup and a chartreuse, basically, with a minnow. And then about 15 inches above that, and they've got a solid green Skipper's Moon Jig on there, tipped with a minnow. And they are cruising. They're out here going real fast. So they're not getting a lot of bites, but when they catch a fish, they're catching some pretty good ones. That one there was a little over 1.75 pounds. And like I said, 16 foot, they're using 16 foot. This is a Genco spider troll rod, very strong. You need stout rods when you come down here and fish these black crappie. When you set the hook, you want to be able to horse them in. So that's what they're doing. That's about 9 foot of line out, and they are cruising right down the middle of this river, bordering the channel drop off. Fish on. There's a fish on right now. Terry's got, looks like pretty good fish on. That pole's been over pretty good. A little bend. Got a big one. Oh yeah. Got a big one. Oh, yeah, that is a good one. He's got a good fish on there. Booyah! Show us what you caught that on.
Caught that on Skipper's moon jig.
Nice.
Butterscotch and lime.
Butterscotch.
Butterscotch and lime. Tango. Pound 80?
Probably 180.
Look how thick that thing is. So that was Terry Richard and Kent Williams, the Renewable Fuels Association team out here spider rigging in the middle of the river. We're gonna go try to find some new teams that are doing some different things, different ways to catch fish down here. There we go, fish on. We just pulled up on Paul Turner. He's actually out fishing in kind of a canal and off of the river, and just out in the middle of it, cruising along. Got his 8 poles out. So we're up here with Paul Turner, and right on the other side of him, we got an alligator resting on a tree. He's got Gus in the boat with him, catching crappie. This is Florida crappie fishing at its finest right here. Fish on. Well, it might be an inch bigger than the last one.
Make sure you don't come film me, Fred.
Oh, here in a minute they'll just get bigger.
You ever fished Jordan?
There's a little one. Looks like those baits are all down there a good 8 foot or so. Like I said earlier, we're just cruising down the canal. Got a bunch of combinations of different baits on, tipping them with minnows. Had one tugging on it, didn't you?
Hi, I'm Tommy Scarless, professional angler on the Crappie Masters Tour. We're out here trolling up some crappies today, putting together the program. The cornerstone of any program is the structure you're catching them on and the depth you're catching them in. So I tell you what, stick with us. We're going to break it down and show you exactly how to use Navionics cartography in order to find those fish and tear that pattern down and catch some big crappie. We're out here pre-fishing for the DeLand Crappie Masters tournament. And what we're doing is there's a large expansive flat. Actually, the whole lake is almost could be considered a flat just because it's seemingly featureless. Yep. It's a bowl out here. It's fairly shallow, and there's a lot of water, but there just isn't a lot of detail or contour to it. But we're trolling jigs and planer boards. We've also got flat lines. We're also pushing jigs from the front of the boat. We have a literal cornucopia as far as our presentation is concerned today. And we're trying to put together okay, this is working, that ain't working. Them 2 jokers on the bow of the boat, they're about ready to come off the team because they haven't caught any fish. But stick around, we'll see if we can catch a couple of fish and kind of show you in detail what we're looking for to program and pattern these fish. Just picked up the fish. And the first thing I do whenever I get a fish is I make sure that I store a coordinate. And the reason you're going to do that is that those coordinates, once you start looking at the map and their relationship to the contour lines in the bottom, will oftentimes show you where those fish are relating to the structure. Now, this isn't a very big one, but most people think that it's luck. They thought, oh, I caught that one out there. I was lucky, I put it in front of a fish. And, the funny thing is that it's never luck. There's always a program, there's always a pattern. One of the biggest keys to trolling And one of the biggest keys to fishing is establishing that pattern, figuring out where those fish are at, figuring out what depth they're relating to, and then figuring out what lures they want to eat. If somebody says 5 foot, you know, that's something I'm going to pay attention to. But what I'm going to do is figure out what that 5 foot is. On my graph, it could be 4.7 foot. And then all of a sudden, when I start to figure out that they're on that contour line, if you're in 5.5 out here, you might be 100 yards away from 4.7. You're in 4.2, you might be 100 yards on the other side of it. The pattern's starting to come together. I'm getting pretty excited about that. Let me show you exactly what I mean by contours and how it affects or helps you to put together a successful program. The blue is 4 foot of water. The white is 5 foot of water. This is the depth change between 5 to 4 foot. See this white here? 5 to 4 foot. Look at all my coordinates. The red X's are from yesterday. The blue flags are from today. Everything is right in this area, and it's a pretty good sized chunk of ground right here. Pretty good sized chunk of real estate. Let's say I get crowded. Let's say the fish wear out here. What I'm going to do is I'm going to start moving around on this map, and I'm going to start going to other areas where white and blue meet and then troll into the blue. So I'm actually going from 5 foot to 4 foot of water. Most of the fish are coming in about 4.7 to 4.8 foot of water. So all I got to do is get out of that 5 and get into the 4 somethings. High 4s. High 5, baby. Woo! Navionics. Love it. Well, there's another one. I'll tell you what. Since we figured out that those fish were in about 4.7 to 4.8 foot of water, and then started focusing in and keying in on that depth, we're starting to get into the crappies pretty good right now. May not be the biggest crappie in the world, but I tell you what, when you can find the pattern, you can actually catch enough fish and go through enough of them in order to find the right fish. Folks, it's as simple as 1, 2, 3. Find the fish, find the lures that you're going to put in front of them, and then put together that pattern, what depth they're in, what contour line they're following, what structure they're on. It's pretty simple. It's as easy as 1, 2, 3 with Navionics.
I'm Jason Little from Cochran, Georgia.
I'm Craig Chapman from Danville, Georgia.
We're out in the St. John's River long line trolling, pulling double 30 seconds, trying to pull them right off the bottom and trying to stay in about 12 foot of water, trying to pull the jigs about 10 to 12 foot deep, just trying to cover some water, see if we can find some staging females.
All right, so you're, what's the water depth out here again?
Right now we're sitting in 14 foot of water. Trying to run the jigs about 11, somewhere 11, 12 foot deep.
So you basically are just gonna cruise down here, and
if we find a few fish, we'll mark it on the GPS and go back and get it again.
How many miles have you been this morning?
Probably about 3 miles.
All right. And you guys are going down current?
Going down current, correct.
Fish.
Bite while we on camera.
He did it. This one.
He won't get y'all good fish while we on camera.
Oh no, nobody ever does. Keeping her down. The suspense. All right, we was with Jason Little and Craig Chapman. They're out here right in the middle of the St. John's River, and they are long lining. They got to give you some tips on what they're doing, how fast they're going, and all that. And we've seen they've caught quite a few fish. A lot of little ones. They'll make adjustments. They'll figure something out. Well, we're going to keep moving and trying to catch up with some more techniques and fish being caught on the St. John's River.
Back in Georgia, you don't catch a lot of fish on the top.
Yeah.
It's just there for good sometimes. Down here, you catch an awful lot of fish on the top.
Huh. Those look like twins.
Yes, it is. Home twins. And something like talcum.
Shaky head.
Turn, you better be reeling these up or doing something to adjust.
Right on. Now when you get a big fish on, You nurse them in there?
Oh, yeah.
Take them real slow?
Yeah.
Totally different, totally different.
What pound test line you got on?
We generally fish 4.
There we go. Little 3/4. Half pounder.
Go with the current.
That's right. Go with the current. If you could give one tip to everybody watching, what would you tell them?
Go against the current.
Spoken by a true fisherman.
Well, that's going to wrap up a beautiful day out on the St. Johns River. We got some good tips and techniques from the guys out here and gals out here catching some nice, beautiful specks. Our goal, help you become better crappie fishermen so you can catch these crappie year-round on all lakes across the country. We'll be back next week with some tournament action right here on the St. Johns River and see who's going to win the first leg of the Florida State Championship.
Crappie Masters Television is brought to you by the Renewable Fuels Association, American Ethanol, Bass Pro Shops, the Missouri Corn Growers Association, Humminbird, Minn Kota, and the West Volusia Tourism Advertising Authority.